which I believe that we should be proud of. Just to remind our viewers that it's Africa Liberation Day, and then we are still celebrating Africa's Day from coaches, live here from Coaches of Influence Foundation. And if you are joining us this moment, I would like you to follow, also to inform you that you can follow us on our social media platforms. It could be on YouTube, LinkedIn, whichever media platform that is out there. You can follow us in whatever that we're doing. But not to waste much of our time, we are about to start with our first speaker. That is no other person than one of our most inspiring, brilliant young men that Gambia will always be proud of and ever proud of. No other person than Honorable Abdul Karim Baji, the Secretary General of Coaches United Nations Simulation. And I will introduce him. Let me give you a brief background of who Abdul Karim Baji is, Honorable Abdul Karim Baji. Abdul Karim Baji, are you here with us?
Absolutely.
Wow. Glad to know that you're around. This is our day. And then everyone is watching. The whole world is watching. We can't wait because now the show is about to happen. And let me just give everyone, viewers out there, an intro, a bio about who Abdul Karim is. Abdul Karim Baji is an IT enthusiast, aspiring data scientist, seasoned diplomat, and humanitarian, currently serving as the Undersecretary General of Coaches United Nations Simulations, which is CONS. He is the Vice President of the School of Information Technology and Communication Association and a member of the Students' Affairs Committee of the University of the Gambia. He has several other accomplishments that we won't get into today because we cannot wait to hear from his opening remark. Abdul Karim, the floor is yours. Help me welcome Abdul Karim.
Thank you, Honorable Samuel. It is indeed a pleasure to be here to celebrate this momentous occasion with my fellow young people within the African continent. So without further ado, just to dive in, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow champions of progress. On behalf of the Coaches of Influence Foundation, I am tasked with the responsibility of delivering the opening remarks. Today, we come together to celebrate Africa Day 2023, a momentous occasion that marks not only the diversity and richness of our continent, but also signals the dawn of a new era of transformation and empowerment. We gather under the resounding theme, accelerating development and diffusion of emerging technologies for a green, inclusive, and resilient Africa, as we embark on a collective journey that will shape the destiny of our great continent, Africa. In this auspicious gathering, we are reminded of the profound wisdom passed down by our ancestors. Their words resonating through time. Africa, the time for change is upon us. Rise, awaken, and seize the opportunity that lie before you. Moreover, today we witness the birth of the Influence Africa Youth Forum, an invaluable platform designed to amplify the voices of African visionaries, innovators, and leaders. This forum would serve as a powerful catalyst, empowering our continent with knowledge, inspiration, and the collective will to drive positive change. Through collaboration and shared vision, we shall unite in our pursuit of a purpose-driven, sustainable, and equitable Africa. In the spirit of inclusivity, embracing our collective diversity, we must heed the words of Kofi Annan, the beloved son of Africa and former Secretary General of the United Nations. He reminded us that to live is to choose, but to choose well, you must know who you are and what you stand for, where you want to go, and why you want to get there. Today, we reaffirm our commitment to inclusivity, ensuring that no one is left behind on this transformative journey. Our diversity is our strength, and together, we can forge a path toward a brighter future. Let us also draw inspiration from the words of the remarkable Malala Yousafzai, who proclaimed, "One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world." Let us invest in the youth of Africa, equipping them with the tools and knowledge they need to become the leaders of tomorrow. By nurturing their potentials, we empower them to drive innovation and shape a future that holds promise for Africa and its people. Today, as we gather here, let the batch of the Influence Africa Youth Forum be a resounding call to action. Together, we possess the power to shape Africa's destiny, accelerate progress, and build a continent that is green, inclusive, and resilient. Each one of us has a vital role to play in this transformative journey, for it is through the collective efforts of passionate individuals that lasting change is brought forth. In conclusion, I am reminded of the word of Chinua Achebe, the Reverend Nigerian author. I believe you can all remember, right? Who spoke of the power of storytelling, stating, "Until the lions have their own histories, the history of the hunt would always glorify the hunter." Let us reclaim our narratives, celebrate our heritage, culture, and achievements. Through our stories, we would inspire generations to come, foster a sense of pride and resilience that will propel Africa forward. Thank you all, and may this Africa Day serve as a wellspring of inspiration, igniting the flames of empowerment with us all. Together, let us embrace our power, seize the opportunities before us, and embark on a journey that would leave an enduring legacy for generations to come. And like the Swahili would say, Asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Abdul Karim Baji. I don't know where all of you are, but if you are here with us, I believe that Honorable Abdul Karim deserves some thumbs up, some hearts going, some congratulations, some hand claps, something to encourage him. Honorable Abdul Karim, we thank you for your words of encouragement. You have just inspired us, and you said that together we possess the power to build Africa. And what I also got from your remarkable speech is that, Abdul Karim, you want us to come together. Africa should tell Africa stories, and we should not allow anyone to tell our stories. We should come together and tell our stories from the African perspective. Thank you so much. That's such a remarkable speech. And now the excitement is really building up once we have heard from our Secretary General, Honorable Abdul Karim Baji, and we are ready to dive into the program. And with the remarks from the keynote speaker that we are about to hear from. So please allow me to introduce our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker today is Professor Patrick Locke Otieno Lumumba. And Professor Patrick Locke Otieno Lumumba is the founder and chairman of the PLO Lumumba Foundation Limited. He is a renowned lawyer and founding partner of Lumumba and Lumumba Advocates Law Firm. Professor Lumumba has over 35 years experience in legal practice, and he is an academician holding a doctorate degree on the law of the sea from Ghent University in Belgium. He is also an advocate of the High Courts of Kenya and Tanzania, a commissioner for oaths, and a notary public. He is a certified secretary, a certified mediator, and an author of several books in the legal and other fields. Above all, we all know that Professor Lumumba is a passionate Pan-Africanist and is the leading voice for Africa and of Africa. With thumbs up, with high fives, with emojis, I want you to please join us to hear the heartwarming message from Professor Lumumba.
I'm happy to join you today as you commence your discussions on a critical subject, that is emerging technologies and how they interact with the environment in the continent of Africa. Africa continues to lag behind as the rest of the world embraces technology in a robust way. So we do not, as a continent, have the luxury of waiting for too long. We now know that technology is the key enabler in almost all sectors. And because today we are focusing on the environment and related issues, one can only fleetingly mention the impact of technology in the other areas, whether it is in the economic arena, whether it is in the blue economy, whether it is in the monetary sector. But suffice it to say that if Africa is to earn the dividends of technology, it will be incumbent upon Africans at all levels, at educational institutions, in the private sector, in the public sector, to have clear policy articulation that addresses these issues in a robust manner. It will be necessary to equip our young men and women with the training and the skills that will enable them to interact with the rest of the world using modern technology in order to influence the activities that are germane to the needs of the continent of Africa. If, for example, we want to revolutionize agriculture, we have no other avenue other than to engage in smart agriculture. If we want to go into the arena of education itself, we must run away from the chalk and board approach to education. And if we want to go into the monetary arena and indeed all these other areas that concern us, whether it's climate change, whether it's the question of desertification, it is important that we embrace technology going forward. And we must not only be consumers of technology that is innovated and invented elsewhere. Africa must now get into the arena of innovation and invention so that we are masters of our activities in a sustainable manner. I hope that you will have the courage to discuss these issues robustly. I wish you a good session. And indeed, not just a session, but sessions which will give birth to practical and implementable prescriptions which will solve our extant problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Professor Lumumba, and I know he has a lot of several followers that are on this platform today. A lot of young people connect with Professor Lumumba. A lot of young people listen to his messages, his empowering teachings. And a couple of things that I got from his keynote. One is that we need to equip our young people with the technology so they can compete and interact globally. That is so powerful. That is very necessary. If Africa must arise, Africa must equip the young people, the young generation. Africa must equip its assets to be able to compete globally. And he also emphasized that we cannot only be consumers of technology, we have to be innovators and inventors. If you are here listening to me, if you can hear Professor Lumumba this morning, we are speaking to you. We cannot only be consumers. We have to be inventors. We have to be innovators. That is what Professor Lumumba says, and I agree with him totally. I know that most of you are followers. If you have any questions, please prepare to send them over during the Q&A time. But for now, we are preparing for our second speaker from the Secretariat of the African Union. And this is the African Union Economic, Social, and Cultural Council, ECOSOC. But before we do that, we need to also enjoy another video presentation before we welcome our next speaker. If you are just joining us, this is Coaches of Influence Foundation, and today we are celebrating Africa Liberation Day. And we are also, coincidentally, we are also launching a very powerful platform called the Influence Africa Youth Forum, that will be airing some programs monthly or quarterly coming from Coaches of Influence Foundation. So we are ready, and we have a video presentation that I want all of us to enjoy.
Ancient lands where legends roam, Africa's elites, wisdom hone, civilization flourished through ancient Egyptian pyramids and monumental architecture, a testament to their visions. From Timbuktu's scholarly might to Ghana, Songhai and Mali's empires shining bright. Mansa Musa, riches untold. His words of unity, bold and bold. Africa, unite, let us reclaim our heritage and rise aflame. Nkrumah's voice echoed through the air. Seek ye first Africa's welfare. Ghana's beacon, fighting for freedom, inspiring nations to rise and overcome. Sankare, a visionary soul, with dreams of Africa's self-control. Women hold up half the sky, he said, empowering all, no soul left dead.
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Liberia's pride, breaking barriers, empowering far and wide. Leadership knows no gender or belief. Strength, dispelling prejudice, offering relief. Mwalimu Nyerere, a beacon of light. Education is the key that makes everything right. Tanzania's leader, champion of unity. Inspiring generations, transforming society. Senghor of Senegal, poetic and wise. Culture is the soul that never dies. Celebrating negritude, embracing our roots, uniting Africa, breaking colonial disputes. Tulo Lumumba, a voice fierce and strong. Corruption, a cancer that must be gone. Fighting for justice, rule of law and defense. Empowering Africa where progress transcends.
Sadauda Kairaba Jawara, the Gambia's pride, peace and democracy, side by side. A testament of integrity, leading with grace, nurturing a nation, creating a safe space. Nelson Mandela of South Africa, a prominent figure in the anti-apartheid movement. Despite being imprisoned, he introduced policies aimed at promoting reconciliation and healing in a divided society. Kwame Nkrumah Mensah, Ghana's pride, Pan-Africanism, our unity, cannot hide. Advocating for liberation, Africa's true voice, shaping a future where all can rejoice. Gaddafi's voice, controversial and strong, United States of Africa, where we belong. Dreaming of a unified continent, standing tall. His vision, though debated, echoes the call.
Sir Edward Mutesa of Uganda, a strong advocate for democracy and human rights. Siaka Stevens of Sierra Leone, an advocate of economic and social development, contributed to the establishment of the Economic Community of West African States, Ecowas. Louis Cabral of Guinea-Bissau stride, independence is not a goal, it is a means to an end, empowering the nation, aspirations abide, the future of progress, where dreams transcend. Ahmed Sékou Touré of Guinea-Conakry, bold, Africa refused to be divided, be strong and hold, fighting against colonial circles, a courageous fight, uniting Africa's nations, igniting the light.
Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, the emperor who led the African Union movement and ranged in significant economic and social development. Ramaphosa of South Africa leading the way. Investment and inclusion, growth we shall display. A champion of economic reform and social progress, empowering the people, creating success. Obasanjo of Nigeria, steadfast and strong, corruption's grip we shall dismantle before long. A commitment to good governance and transparency, Nigeria's transformation, a beacon of prosperity.
Lourenço of Angola, guiding the way, accountability and progress we shall convey, driving economic diversification and reform, a feature of prosperity, Africa's norm. Kagame of Rwanda, a visionary leader, unity and innovation, our path to succeed, rebuilding a nation, healing wounds of the past. Rwanda's transformation, a model to outlast, inclusion and progress, our shared endeavor. A story of resilience where hope will never cease. Faki of the African Commission, integration and cooperation, our mission, working tirelessly for continental unity, a stronger Africa, a global community.
2063, a grand vision unfold. Africa's Renaissance, a global wheel. From the Cape to Cairo, hand in hand. Prosperity and peace we will command. The leaders past and present, their voices resound. Their wisdom in our hearts profound. Together we strive, united we will be. Africa's greatness for all we see. In ancient lands and modern times, Africa's spirit soar and chimps. Legends and leaders, their words inspire. A continent rising, reaching higher. Though challenges faced and victories won, Africa's journey is far from done. With resilience and hope, we will pave the way for a brighter future, day by day.
From the founding fathers to today's forefront, the spirit of Africa would never relent, a tapestry woven with strength and grace, embracing heritage, embracing the chase. In the cradle of civilization, Africa stands, a beacon of hope across vast lands, from the past to present and into the future. Africa's story, a testament to nurture. So let us stand together, hand in hand, with unity and purpose, we shall withstand. For Africa's potential knows no bound.
Wow, 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 wow. Where are you, young people? Where are you, COIF youth? Where are you, youth from all over the globe? Where are you, Africa's assets? Where are you? I want to see you commenting. This is simply powerful. That was a message from Alimatu Bajinja, who is a freelance journalist in the Gambia, and our very own Honorable Abdul Karim Baji, who is the Secretary General of Coaches United Nations Simulations. Abdul Karim is also a board of director and an alumni of this very organization. Abdul Karim, we are so proud of you, and we thank Alimatu also for this powerful message. Well, if you are just joining us, welcome to Africa Day celebration, presented to you by Coaches of Influence Foundation, a youth and women's organization raising an army of influencers for intergenerational impact. What is more exciting today is that we are also launching our Influence Africa Youth Forum platform today. And we have just heard from some of our young people, some of the young people that Coaches of Influence Foundation are raising. These are voices, an army of influencers. Now we are ready to hear from our next speaker. Please allow me to introduce him. Our next speaker is no other than Dr. Gautam Raj Chintaram. And Dr. Raj is a nationally recognized social activist, climate advocate, and leadership coach. He has revolutionized youth leadership with the foundation of Association Civic Midlands, a community-based organization which has been spearheading key national activities for environmental protection, emancipation of women, and the organization of sports and leisure activities. As a native of Mauritius, he has championed and pioneered several advocacy initiatives locally and globally. In December of 2014, Dr. Raj was elected representing the Republic of Mauritius at the Second Permanent General Assembly of the Economic, Social, and Cultural Council, ECOSOC, of the African Union. Subsequently, he chaired the Infrastructure and Energy Cluster Committee of ECOSOC from February 2015 to December 2018. With his election at the Third Permanent Assembly of the ECOSOC in December 2018, he has brought in significant contributions to the organ, and today we are so honored to have him here with us. Dr. Raj, we welcome you. Please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Margaret, and colleagues in the Gambia, and all the participants who are online, Coaches of Influence. Well, thank you for that introduction, but that was my past. Now I'm a staff of the African Union, so the African Union Economic Social and Cultural Council, and I have been wearing the hat of civil society before, as you rightly said, climate activist also. But the topic that you presented for today about technology, these are things that have been dear to me. But still, today I wanted to, because we're celebrating Africa Day, as you remember, I said, let us talk a bit more about, because I'm sure there must be many youth attending this event. So it will be good at least to just give them an overview about the journey from the OAU to the African Union and the way forward, what we are planning for the continent. So this is why I decided that instead of me going into technical, the technicalities of the presentation for today, at least I give an overview about what we are, who we are at the African Union, and how you are all part of that family. So this is my first comment on today. And unfortunately, I'm not having that same energy as you people are having over there. Since the morning, we are having back-to-back activities. Even right now, I was on Zoom with the All Africa Churches Council. So it's Africa Day today, and we are being solicited from all across the continent. But still, I'll give you a brief presentation, and I hope that will help to enlighten our followers, our young followers, especially who are joining us and who basically have very little information about the African Union. So today, as you're aware, we're celebrating the 60 years of the OAU, the Organization of the African Unity, and also 20 years of the African Union. So this PowerPoint presentation is basically to run through our young friends, to give them a very brief historical perspectives about the African Union. And from that, we'll build upon where we want to move the agenda for the African agenda, the Africa we want. So the video that was displayed was a very inspirational video. In fact, I'm also requesting if coaches and influence can share that video to our own communication team, where we can use and showcase this video on our various AU digital platforms, because I learned a lot from that video. It has very powerful messaging, and also it captures the key stalwarts of the continent who led the Africa freedom, and even the new ones who are bringing innovative ideas to drive this continent ahead. So I will kindly request also if coaches of influence can share that video to our communication people, whom we can share on the various ECOSOC and African Union portals. So I was asked to do a presentation on a topic, but then I said, let me bring you on a short journey from the OAU to the African Union. So it happened during the aftermath of the World War II. There was a process of decolonization on the continent. In fact, all across the world, the decolonization process gathered momentum. And between 1945 to 1965, a number of African countries obtained their independence. So we had the first conference of independent African states, which was held in Ghana in 1958. And this is when we started the first celebration of the Africa Freedom Day. And as more African countries became independent, there was a need for an organization that would articulate the aspirations of African people, and the struggle arose the conception of the OAU. So this 1958 first conference of independent African states was the genesis for African heads of states and government to conceptualize what we call the Organization of African Unity. So basically, we had in May 25th May 1963, so exactly 60 years from now, in Addis Ababa, we had 32 African states that had achieved independence at that time. They met, they agreed, and they established the Organization of African Unity. The Organization of African Unity, which is now known as the African Union. So there are key contributions of the organizations of African Unity. So, I mean, for those who are in the what we call development sector, or those who are in the diplomatic field, those who deals with what we call multilateral organizations, maybe these things are quite common to you, but OAU has contributed into the Lagos Plan of Action, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Africa Priority Program for Economic Recovery, the Charter on Popular Participation. This is crucial again for ensuring participation of civil society in the affairs of the African Union. The treaty for establishing the AEC. In fact, you will find that there are some key contributions of the OAU. And, OAU was created just after many African states got independence, and some of them were in the process of getting independent. Then there was a transition. There was a transition between OAU to AU. So we had a number of key meetings. First, we had the 7th extraordinary session of the AU. We have the Summit of the African Union, 1999. We have the Lome Summit, 2000. Lusaka, 2001, where member states drew the roadmap for implementation of the OAU, for the AU, and then eventually 2002 in Durban, where the AU First Assembly of Heads of States and Government was launched. So today also marks the 20 years anniversary of the African Union and 60th anniversary of the OAU. Now, this is key also, a key message. This is the vision of the African Union. So if you look at the vision of the African Union, it stipulates an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena. So many times in the past, we have been portraying, very gloomy pictures of Africa, a picture where you see only poverty, where you don't see hope, where you find like how we have been narrating our own story has not been sending out positive messaging. But now with the AU, we have now changed the narrative. We are bringing forth, some new messaging, positive messaging, a messaging of hope, a messaging of, like we have the energy, we have the passion, we have the dedication to move this continent forward. So again, going for this vision, you will see it's a vision, it's an Africa driven by its own citizen. So the African Union is not me, it's not Dr. Margaret, it's not His Excellency Musa Faki. The African Union is each and every African citizen resident on this continent and even the diaspora. So this is your family and this is your organization. So it's not an elitist organization for just diplomats or technicians, but an African Union is your union and you are part and parcel of the African Union. So what we need to do today on Africa Day is also to embrace this vision, for you to also domesticate this vision, for you also to believe in this vision that this integrated, prosperous, and peaceful continent is possible. It will only be possible when you feel that you be part of it, that you embrace it, that you believe in it, and that you toil, you make effort to go towards to make it, to materialize this dream. Just for information, we politically, Africa is divided into 6 regions. So why I'm saying 6? Because the diaspora is part and parcel of the African Union. So we have the West, North, Central, East, and Southern region. At times we find, like, I'm just taking just one case, like Burundi. Basically, at times people just confused whether it's Burundi Central or Burundi is Eastern or Burundi is Southern. But basically, all the countries, they may have various associations with the regional economic blocks and so on. But what we need to do is to understand that at the African Union, we have political classification, geographical and political classification of countries within the regions of the African Union. So if you can see my screen, you will surely be yeah, you will surely be looking, you will surely be finding the 6 regions. Anyway, I'll be sharing this presentation to coaches of influence, and they can share to all the participants, because from where I am, I don't know how many participants we have and who are the participants. So let me continue now to introduce you to the African Union flag. So the African Union flag, because many times we tend to not misuse, but that we don't know what is the African Union emblem, what is the African Union flag, and what even this picture depicts. So this flag, it was adopted in 2010. As you can see, we have stars. So we have 55 stars in the outer circle. So these 55 stars represent the 55 member states of the African Union. Then you will find it's a continent where you don't have the borders. So it's an integrated continent, a one piece continent. You will find the small, small dots in the corner. So these are the island states also. But basically, this is the African Union flag with a green background and also the 55 stars representing the 55 member states of the African Union. Next, we have the emblem of the African Union, which is different from the flag. And knowing the emblem, sorry, I'm also under the weather. So knowing the emblem is also of utmost importance if we claim ourselves to be Pan-Africanists and we want to advance the cause of the African Union and to advance the cause for the continental development, then we also need to know what this emblem represents. So you have in the outer, you have the palm leaves, and this stands for peace. Then you will have a circle, an inner circle, a golden circle, which symbolizes the wealth of Africa and the bright future that we have. So again, you see, even the emblem of the African Union, we put emphasis on peace, but also on the wealth that this continent already possesses, and that we should be cognizant of, that we are not poor. In fact, we have the world's largest resources and riches. And we have the green circle, which stands for the hopes and aspirations. We have the plain map of Africa without boundaries. And this signifies, the very essence for us not to have the boundaries here is because what we eventually want is an integrated continent, which is borderless. Borderless in the sense like there's no restriction of movement and it is just one continent. And then you will find small interlocking red rings, and this stands for the African solidarity. And also for us not to forget that many of our forefathers have shed their blood for the liberation of this continent. So this we should also not forget that for the youth especially who are on the call, but who at times are also quite insensitive, to know that the freedom that they're enjoying today, many people have shed their blood for that one. So we also need to value those people who have shed their blood, and also not to let their efforts go waste. So whatever they have done in their capacity, we will need to do better than what they have done. So just to give you the emblem of the African Union, this is the emblem of the African Union. You can find it on the YouTube. You will get the emblem of the YouTube on YouTube. So what I will also request is like coaches of influence. Today is Africa Day. Maybe at the end, if you can still play. Basically, we start with the AU anthem, but we can just, if it's possible for you, maybe get it on YouTube. If you can play the African Union anthem, that will also be very powerful, because when you look at the messaging in the African Union anthem, that is something which is very, very strong, and this can also be an inspiration for your youth and everyone. So I'll skip this slide. This one is to give you an overview of the AU family, how we are structured. So, this is a very simplistic depiction of the AU. We have the assembly on top of the pyramid. We have the assembly of heads of states and government. Then we have the executive council of ministers. We have a number of STCs. We have the permanent representative committee, which is based on 55 ambassadors. Each member state has an ambassador in the African Union. So they form the PRC. Then we have a number of organs. We have the Peace and Security Council. We have the Commission itself. We have the Pan-African Parliament. We have ECOSOC. We have the African Code, the APRM, and so on. So ECOSOC is your organ. It's the organ of civil society. It is an advisory organ to the African Union, but it is where we have the space for civil society to come and influence policies that the continent, that the leaders take forward. So why ECOSOC was established? It was established because there was some unstructured engagement between civil society and government. So then there was a need to have that structure where civil society and government can sit around the same table and discuss progress and vision, and the policies which will bring prosperity to the continent. Who can be part of the Economic, Social, Cultural Council? If you can see my slide, practically everyone can be a member of ECOSOC. So if you belong to any of the social group like women, children, youth, elderly, even people with disabilities, or you are professional, you are from the professional group, health artists, engineers, business community, and so on. So you can also be part of it. CBOs, NBOs, even faith-based organizations, you can also be part of it. So this is an organ for you. And I'm glad to share that Dr. Margaret Ellis is an elected member of the Fourth Permanent General Assembly of ECOSOC. But then we are also now in the stage of rolling out national ECOSOC chapters. So during the 42nd Executive Council decision of the African Union, this February 2023, member states have adopted the national chapter framework, and we are now in the phase of creating awareness and starting the activation of the national chapters. So very soon in the Gambia, we'll be having the national chapter where if you fall in any of this category, you can be part of the national chapter of ECOSOC. So moving forward, I'm skipping this slide to go to the team, to what actually was tasked to me to discuss about accelerating development and diffusion of emerging technologies for a green, inclusive, and resilient Africa. As much as this topic is very dear to me, because maybe Dr. Ellis during a presentation even introduced me, I have been chairing the cluster for infrastructure energy for ECOSOC before I joined as a staff for 2 mandates. And also during the days I was wearing the civil society hat here in Mauritius for over 20 years, I've been the pioneers for climate advocacy and so on. But then I think instead of looking at the topic into isolation, I wanted to connect this topic to something bigger, to look at it holistically instead of going to the technicalities of it, because I know we have technical experts on the other side of the house who are really technical experts. So I'll better leave that to the technical experts. But me, I want to bring that nexus between the Agenda 2063 and this topic, because whatever this topic is the theme for discussion is not in isolation. It is part and parcel of a bigger picture of the Agenda 2063 of the Africa we want. So Agenda 2063, as some of you or all of you may be aware, is a strategic framework for the socio-economic transformation of the continent for the next 50 years. It builds on and seeks to accelerate implementation of past and existing continental initiatives for growth and sustainable development. So if you recall the topic of discussion, so when we're trying to build an inclusive Africa, a resilient Africa, so this is encapsulated in the Agenda 2063. So if we take this as a guiding document, then we can also be satisfying, that dream for us to have a resilient Africa, to have a green Africa. And we're talking about sustainable development, sustainable, but also inclusive development. Why we need an agenda? Basically, there are things have changed. Even why we changed from OAU to AU, this is also, there's a rationale. When OAU was created, there was that need to fight colonialism, to fight for liberation of the continent, to free the remaining African states. So that was the initial objective of the OAU. But then after most of the African countries got their liberation, got their independence, then that very purpose to have an OAU with the initial objectives became almost obsolete, as much as the much needed African unity solidarity was still strong. We needed a new organization with a new vision to bring us. Now that was a new goal, that was a new destination. And this is why we created the African Union. We shifted from the OAU to an AU, where AU brings hope that we can now move towards development and not just fight independence, liberation, because we have moved away from that step. So things are changing, and now we have been experiencing a new trend in Africa. You'll find we have ODA NEPAD. NEPAD is one of the agency of the African Union, which has come, which has been able to do lots of progress to implement lots of infrastructure development on the continent. So there are many, many causes. There are many indicators that now we have a new Africa, and now we can take our agenda in our hands. Now we can take reign of our development agenda. because only if we take control of our agenda, we will be able to proceed to success. Otherwise, if we leave it for thinking that others will come and help us, then this will never happen. So this is why we need an agenda for us. These are the goals for the Agenda 2063. If you can see, we have 20 goals. We have 7 aspirations. Basically, there is a big synergy between the SDGs and the AU Agenda 2063. But it's also good for us to know that the Agenda 2063 was launched in 2013, so much before the SDGs. But then when you look at them, there's there's much complementarity, and there's much in common between the two. That is the SDGs and the Agenda 2063. So what we basically, to sum it up, what we need in Agenda 2063 is we have 7 aspirations, which gives lays emphasis on inclusive growth, on sustainable development, on peace, on good governance, on democracy. Basically, these are the pillars for us to build in Africa. So this is why it is very important for us also to know this agenda and also advocate. If you are from civil society, if you are in an organization, so you should also be advocates of this Agenda 2063. You can also be advocating Agenda 2063 to your respective governments also. Our continent, why I'm saying again, bringing this picture on my screen, is to tell you that we have a big continent, which is bigger combined. If you put the US, China, Europe, and India all together, it's bigger. So we don't even realize the immensity of the continent. Basically, when you look at the 2D maps, two-dimensional map, you see the continent is small. But actually, when you look at an actual 3D map, then you'll realize that the continent is far, far, far bigger. When you combine all these big superpowers, then they are far bigger. And most importantly, that we have almost 30% of the resources that is remaining in mineral resources on planet Earth. So it means that we have the resources. And as coaches of influence, you have a huge youth fellowship. So just know that, this is something which is everyone knows, that we have the youngest continent. And if you have young people, you have the energy, you have the vision, and you have the right tools to drive the agenda forward. So this is a snapshot. It's a snapshot for you to get an idea about the landmass that I was discussing before, and also to know about the resources that we have, from diamonds to gold to first platinum to petroleum to natural gas. So every resource that you may even think is here. So what is required now is for us to take control of our agenda and to drive prosperity forward. And for that, we'll need innovation. We need science, we need technology, and we need what you people are doing and coaches of influence to empower young leaders so that they don't feel any inferiority complex, that they can't drive the agenda of this continent forward. So these are some of the flagship projects on Agenda 2063, and one of it is the Africa Free Continental Free Trade Area, which I will be talking around because this is the theme of this year. Yeah, so I will try to be very brief on this one because I'm also on another call on Zoom right now. So I will just try to wrap up on talking on the AU Team of the Year. So the AU Team of the Year, for every year, the African Union dedicates a team. So this year is accelerating the implementation of the AFCFTA, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So what we are building with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is the biggest trade area on the continent where people can trade. When African states can trade amongst African states with less hassle, where there will be movement of people, there will be movement of goods and services. So this is about the AFCFTA. AFCFTA in itself if you want to know about AFCFTA in itself, so that will require a number of presentations. But just to let you know that this is the biggest common market that has been created. The AFCFTA has been ratified and is now into force. And now member states, we have started trading amongst each other. So this is something that will definitely changing the landscape of the continent, because once we have start trading amongst ourselves with less hassle, then it means that we can create prosperity, we can create economic growth, we can create new opportunities, especially for youth. And youth, as you are over there, you will get new opportunities to start, to do your startups, to come up with entrepreneurial activities and so on. So again, what I'm saying, will not go the technicality of the FCFTA, because this is something which is not only technical, but this will require time for explanation. And you may also go online. You can check the AFCFTA website and you will get information about the AFCFTA. But we can in the future, like during the third quarter, if coaches of influence want, we can plan, a session, a town hall session on the AFCFTA itself, and that can help you to understand what it is about. But for now, let me just skip it. But central to the AFCFTA is the free movement of people. So we are now struggling at the level of the African Union to ratify what we call the Free Movement Protocol, and this is something which will really change the landscape. For now, there are reticence from many member states to ratify the Free Movement Protocol. The Free Movement Protocol is part of the African Migration Policy Framework for Africa. The Migration Policy Framework for Africa. So in the Free Movement Protocol, what is there is Africans can move along freely in other African countries without restrictions. Basically, it will be regulated for sure, but then you can do trade, you can go and study, you can go and work. So basically, in a nutshell, that is the Free Movement Protocol, which member states have signed. We have 33 member states have signed, but only 4 has ratified. So we still have a lot of work to do on that one. But basically, once this is ratified, hopefully if it's ratified, then you will be able to move from the Gambia to go anywhere on the continent, study, work, come back, and similarly will be the case for others. But basically, you will also be able to do trade. And doing trade means more opportunities for you. If opportunities within your country is limited, then there might be better opportunities for you somewhere else. So basically, as an African, you will be able to move across the continent to trade and to do your business. And also, as I've said, basically, that is something that will give you, you're from West Africa. Most of you attending this call, you're from West Africa. You know how difficult it might be for you to move, especially across some other member states, especially some other countries on the continent. But once we have this FMP ratified, you will be able to move freely on the continent. So we also have one of the flagship project is the Single African Air Transport Market, which is known as a SATEM. So 2018, African Union has started working to have a single African air transport market, because now traveling within Africa is very, very costly and very time consuming. It's quite an awkward to travel within Africa. At times, most of us, the nature of our work is most probably, almost every 2 weeks we keep traveling, and most of the time traveling to Africa, we need to leave the continent to fly to Europe and then take another flight back to Africa, where we could have easily traveled within Africa, but which is not the case because of connectivity issues. So this is the single African air transport market, which is also the flagship initiatives under Agenda 2063. Let me skip this one. I think I will end my presentation here just to tell you that the topic that was able to me today was to discuss about accelerating development and diffusion of emerging technologies. So me, what I've done is not to look at it, I try to have it a very holistic picture, that development is possible is only when we all are aware about the Agenda 2063, when we work with our government to domesticate Agenda 2063, and also when we all advocate to have a peaceful Africa. And these are quick takeaways, not takeaways, but these are my quick, my not comments, but unfortunately, I don't see who is on the call, but I presume that Mostly we have young people on this on this call. So what I will request you is, as much as you spend lots of time on social media, but at times what you also do, maybe you can just research a bit about what we do at the African Union, also what is positive about Africa. Share that also on your digital platforms, so that at least people know from the other continents that this is not a gloomy continent, but this is the continent where the future lies. And even their future, if they are in Europe, they are in the US, their future also lies in the future of this continent. So allow me with this few to conclude my remarks and to hand back the floor to you, Dr. Margaret. And you will need to excuse me because I'm on a Zoom with the All African Church Council. So we have back to back. It's Africa Day, I'm telling you. So I'm already draining. I mean, I saw your energy, your passion. So this is giving me some hope that I will be able to sustain to complete all my meetings for today. But thank you so much again for giving us the opportunity to present to you the African Union and ECOSOC and what we are doing. I'm sorry that we had to keep this presentation quite short, but if you want any presentation in the future on the AFCFTA and on the other works of the African Union, we'll be glad to assist you on that one and to organize activity for you. I'll hand back the floor to you, Dr. Margaret.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raj, for such an enlightening presentation. I was watching the all the remarks coming from all the viewers. This is very enlightening. And yes, COIF is represented in the 4th Permanent General Assembly of the ECOSOC. Participants, viewers, speakers, everybody that is on this platform with us today on a different platform, joining in the conversation and being part of this dialogue. I gathered some highlights from Dr. Raj's presentation. Dr. Raj said that African Union's vision is to have an Africa driven by its own citizens, and we are all part of that group of citizens. And also that African Union have a vision also to make Africa borderless. And when I think of borderless, I'm not only thinking of physical walls. I'm not only thinking of the walls that separate Africa, the borders, but I'm also thinking of the theme for today's forum, which is accelerating development and diffusion of emerging technologies for a green, inclusive, and resilient Africa. Because through technology, Africans can connect with each other. Like right now today, everyone is logging in from a different location in Africa, from a different country maybe, but we are all here together. And we even have people who are not in the continent of Africa right now, who are part of this conversation right now. So technology has a role to play. And I like what Dr. Rice said, that the African continent has the youngest population of youth. So, and those youth are also part of the COIF network. So there is energy needed. There is energy, the energy that is needed to drive the Agenda 2063 is right here in this room right now. That energy is right in the Gambia. That energy is in South Africa. That energy is in all the countries and nations of the African continent. That energy is right here in the room today. But only if you do what Dr. Rice said. Use your social media wisely. Spend your time productively. We want you to make sure that when you have that phone in your hand, you have access to that technology. You need to understand what that technology can, what kind of influence that technology can buy you. And influence, the influence comes with knowledge. When you have information, when you are knowledgeable, you become influential. And I want to say also that if Africa must be developed positively by its own people, then Africans must arise. And when he talks about 60 years of the African Union, we have come far. So it's time that we begin to manifest like we are 60 years old since we have African Union. So I am sure participants may have questions. If you do, please keep them coming at the end. So thank you, viewers. If you are here, you have just joined us, you have been with us, you came in the middle of Dr. Rice's presentation, and you're wondering what is going on over here. We are here celebrating today. We are celebrating Africa Day. And coincidentally, we are also launching the Influence Africa Youth Forum, presented to you or brought to you by Coaches of Influence Foundation. Coaches of Influence Foundation is a youth and women's organization with a solid vision to raise an army of influencers for intergenerational impact. That is why COIF exists. So if you're here and you're wondering, that's exactly what we are doing today. So thank you for joining us. And our theme today is accelerating development and diffusion for emerging technologies for a green and inclusive and resilient Africa. So right now, at this point, I will hand over to our Honorable Samuel, my co-moderator, to introduce our next speaker.
One alone is just a knockout. We are inspired. A lot is being downloaded tonight, this morning, because someone rightly says, when your knowing stops, find someone who knows more than you, add it to what you know, and you'll become a plus. Indeed, Dr. Raj is adding to what we know, the little that we know, to become a plus and then maximize our potentials. To climax with what he said, this is the continent where the future lies. Indeed, what the future holds is in Africa here. Africa is the future. And then I believe that each and every one, young people out there will agree with me that indeed we have a great future and we need to know what to do at this moment because others did so much to get us to this stage. Our founding fathers did so much to get us to this stage. It is what we do today, by all that we've been hearing today. If we are able to utilize it well, we will make Africa a better continent that we never expect, and we can do it. And this is the moment. Without wasting much time, I will be here to introduce the next speaker who is coming up. Guess what? I am excited. We are energized. And we can't wait to hear from this speaker too. He's no other person than Aissatou Keita. Aissatou Keita is a highly accomplished journalist from the Gambia who is breaking barriers and making her mark in the media industry. Keita began her career as an announcer and worked her way up to become a senior producer at the Gambia Radio and Television Services. Aissatou currently serves as the Vice President of the Gambia Press Union, where she champions the rights of journalists and fights against sexual and gender-based violence. She is also the chairperson of the GPU Gender and Welfare Committee, which focus on issues of welfare in the media industry. Aissatou, we welcome you to the Africa Day celebration and looking forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure actually to be part of this wonderful forum to actually talk about Africa. Like you've made mention, that was a brilliant introduction that you made of me. Like he said, I am Aissatou Keita, and I am currently working with GRTS as a senior producer and the vice president of the Gambia Press Union. It's when it comes to this day particularly, it's quite very emotional, and then takes us back to so many things that have happened in the past, and looking at how far we've gone as Africa and Africans, and also now currently looking at the strides that young people are also making in order to have a better future, and the future that we all envisage to have at the end of the day. So across the world, everybody is celebrating Africa Liberation Day. And now on this platform, we're looking at it on the theme accelerating development and diffusion of emerging technologies for a green, inclusive, resilient Africa. So when you look at the team, it's quite a very good and an important one, as it also resonates deeply with our collective vision for a prosperous, sustainable, and equitable Africa. So we have a continent, and we know it's brimming with so much immense possibilities. But also, when we look at it at some point, we are faced with a fair share of challenges in achieving sustainable development. When you talk of limited access to clean energy, we talk about climate change impacts, we look at technological gaps and also economic disparities, which are just some of the obstacles actually that actually lie ahead of us. But when we look at our collective resolve, our collective goal, we stand united in our determination to actually overcome these challenges, harnessing the power of emerging technologies to propel us towards a greener, more inclusive, and resilient future. So, emerging technologies hold tremendous promise in reshaping Africa's development trajectory. They provide us with the tools to address critical issues such as access to clean energy, sustainable agriculture, digital connectivity, and circular economic practices. So these technologies, we understand, have the potential to transform lives, create new opportunities, and also foster sustainable growth. So we just sit sometimes and look at how we do and how things have changed of recent, how things actually move rapidly and tends to grow. And then we somehow look at it in another perspective and imagine a continent where every community has access to reliable and affordable renewable energy sources. How does that actually feel like? We imagine a continent where empowering every community has empowered households. We have schools and businesses, just to picture a future where smart agriculture technologies optimize water usage, increase crop yields, and ensure food security. Imagine envisioning a digital revolution that connects rural areas, bridges the digital divide, and enhances education, healthcare, and entrepreneurship. So we look at all of these things. These are things that Africa really wants. Look at how rich Africa is in terms of natural resources, in terms of so many other issues. But then still, yet still a bit lag behind in terms of technology and all of these things. So the benefits of technology adoption in Africa are far-reaching. So they go beyond economic growth and extend to improved livelihoods, job creation, enhance resources efficiency, and reduce environmental impact. So by embracing emerging technologies, we can create sustainable pathways to posterity while safeguarding our natural resources for generations to come. So, however, we also cannot achieve this vision that we all envision in isolation. One thing pops up, which is the issue of collaboration and partnerships, which are very paramount for governments, private sector entities, civil society organizations, and international stakeholders must also be able to come together to build an enabling policy framework which fosters innovation and ensure the equitable diffusion of emerging technologies across the continent rather. So at some point, we also look back, reflect, and look at what we look forward to having. So in that aspect, we must leverage the power of collaboration, knowledge sharing, and capacity building to accelerate technology development and diffusion in Africa. We've seen success story, and most of them are already emerging. Innovation hubs and startups across the continent are harnessing local talent and creativity to drive technological innovation. They are developing solutions that address Africa's unique challenges, from mobile banking to off grid solar systems. These initiatives, all of them, demonstrate the transformative power of local innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. When we just look at it closer from where we are, we just look at and we look at how young people, how most of us are actually thriving in the areas of um, technology, but then still lack because of the issue of not enough collaboration. And what we look at in the present times or things that happen within our space, our focus is only on the near impact, not looking forward to what could happen in 5 years to come, what could happen in 25 years to come. How would our future generation actually benefit from what we actually are doing at the moment? So we need to go further. We must invest in research and development, support skills development, and provide incentives for technology adoption. We must also promote public private partnerships that attract investment and create an ecosystem conducive to technological advancements. So we also have to leverage international collaborations, learning from global best practices while tailoring them to the unique needs of our continent. We most often at times have opportunities to engage certain be in certain events or programs that we attend, be it international conferences. They're not just for us to be able to attend and then live there and that's it. But how best do we can we also leverage or also learn from best practices of things that people are doing in other countries and it's making headway for them? What can we also learn from them as Africans, so as to be able to replicate them from our own countries? So, in the aspect of us celebrating Africa Day, which is quite a very important day for us as African, but most especially youths, as we grow up to be the leaders that we tend to shape the narratives in terms of development and the aspirations that we look forward to or envisage for Africa. we need to recognize that we are the architects of our own destiny, and we have the opportunity to shape a future that is sustainable, inclusive, and resilient. We also have to embrace the power of emerging technologies and build a green Africa that leaves no one behind. Together, I believe we can accelerate the development and diffusion of emerging technologies, harnessing their potential to uplift communities, preserve our environment, and unlock the vast untapped potential of our continent. So, just to cap it up, we just try to seize this particular opportunity or moment to ignite a new era of progress in Africa. Let us be the champions of change, the advocates of innovation, and the drivers of sustainable development. Together, I believe we can create a green, inclusive, and resilient Africa powered by the transformative force of emerging technologies. So, on that note, I'll just wish all of you a happy Africa Day, and let us march forward towards a future filled with boundless possibilities. Thank you.
A technical challenge. Oh, thank you very much, Aisetu. That was very powerful. We appreciate you, Aisetu. I believe that we have learned a lot from you. And I know without a doubt that by the end, you will be receiving some questions from the young people that are watching you and all of our participants that are watching online right now that are part of this program. That is very empowering. And coming from the media side, it is very interesting to hear your perspective on this topic. So we are well into the program. Can you help me to appreciate Aisetu? Can you please help me, viewers, wherever you are from, participants joining in from every continent of the world, from every nation in Africa? Can you help us to appreciate Aisetu for such a brilliant presentation? Aisetu, we have already heard from Aisetu's bio that she works for the Gambia Radio and Television Services, and not only that, Aisetu is also part of the Gambia. The GPU, the Gambia Press Union, and she has represented well. And we have she's a female, so we are excited. There is some femininity in the house right now. Can we celebrate that? This is Africa Day. Let's celebrate our African talent. Let's appreciate Africans who are learning, who are growing, who are developing and contributing to the development of our countries and the development of the continent as a whole. So we are well into the program, and it will be time. It will be time well spent. I am telling you, you will not regret being here. I want you to grab a friend, invite someone, send them a message, share on your status, share on your social media pages. Don't enjoy this alone. Make sure your friends are here. Make sure your classmates are here. Make sure your co-workers and colleagues are part of this program. Make sure that everybody around your family members are connected. Wherever they are, send them the link. Because of technology, we have a borderless Africa, a borderless world. So anybody can join in from any part of the world. And if we want you to grab your notepad, grab your pen, grab your iPad, grab your laptop, grab your phone, whatever you need to capture some notes coming from these powerful speakers. We are ready to welcome our next speaker. Our next speaker is an intern, also working with the Economic Community of West African States, the Ecowas. So we are very excited. And at this point, I'll have Honorable Samuel usher in our speaker.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that. And the next speaker, as we have said, Aisetu has really inspired us. And we know that it is going higher and higher, upward and forward only that we are going. He challenged us to become champions of change. But here we are, we have another speaker in our midst, that is Owolua Jadesola Oyowe. She's an early career development practitioner. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name well. I have a challenge with regard to that. But she's an early child career development practitioner with experience working on youth, women, peace and security programs, transitioning government, and then serving high-level mediation council summits in West Africa. She currently works with the Department of Political Affairs, Peace and Security of the Ecowas Commission, where she supports the organization's mediation efforts, coordination of regional political affairs, democracy and good governance programs, and electoral assistance. Welcome, Miss. Welcome, Olua. Thank you. Sorry for pronouncing your name. The floor is yours. Are you there?
Okay, sorry for the delay. I had a bit of network issues, but I'm here now. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ewa of Nigeria. I think we're here today to everyone today. Thank you so much for this invitation, and I wish Africa a really peaceful reign, and I really wish that at the end of the day, all of our opportunities and potentials, they really generate into results that make the life of every African better. And also like to say thank you to the Coaches of Influence Foundation. Thank you for putting such a great and awesome event together. It's been so insightful so far. Thank you very much. Thank you for Dr. Margaret. Thank you to the moderators and everyone involved here today. And for the speakers so far, thank you very much. I've learned so much. And for the ECOWAS Commission, thank you for the opportunity to represent you here today. So Africa is a continent that really holds a lot of promise, holds a lot of opportunities, but it's quite unfortunate that there are many paradoxes that that are present. Government houses the most young people in the world today is an opportunity for growth. It's a potential that can be tapped into for the prosperity of our region. But due to the mismanagement so far, we can see that in spite of all this, the paradox, the opportunity of young people that could have been transformed into development, we see instability here and there due to the mismanagement. Let's talk about our resources. We house one of the, our continent houses the largest, vast number of resources, from gold to everything. Think about everything, it's here in Africa, but in spite of that, what do we have for that? We have resource conflicts everywhere, and and how the extraction of these mineral resources and how for a resilient, green, and inclusive Africa is by technology. Technology is an advantage, and emerging technologies are even very, very important in this context, considering that emerging technologies, their role, their nature, what they do is to actually cause an entire overhaul. They disrupt processes, they disrupt systems, they disrupt systems, they disrupt procedures, just to ensure better productivity and to ensure a swift technology that we can actually leverage on in, so that our opportunities that we have, and these emerging technologies, the world they have the potential of generating job opportunities and better standards of living for Africans everywhere. And some of these emerging technologies, they range from renewable energy to Internet of Things, blockchain technology, and so on. Let's start from ensuring a green Africa, for example. We all know that our continent is actually susceptible to an injustice that we.
All right, viewers, don't be discouraged. It looks like EWA is experiencing some internet connectivity challenges. And from what we have seen with EWA's situation right now, it appears that the theme for today, which is accelerating development and diffusion of emerging technologies for a green, inclusive, and resilient Africa, is very, very relevant. Because in the 21st century, Africa cannot rise to compete globally. Africa's youth cannot be resilient. Africa's youth cannot compete globally. Africa's youth cannot be inventors and innovators if we do not have efficient and functional internet. This is a big challenge. And this is a challenge that I'm throwing out there for you young people that are in this chat today, that are watching this program. Look at what we are missing because we cannot have good internet connectivity. So this is a challenge I'm putting out there, a problem that your generation must fix. So I hope that you are frustrated in a good way. I hope that your frustration is pushing you in the direction of learning, getting educated, and asking yourself some questions. What can I do for this continent to make sure that we are resilient, we are green, we are inclusive, to make sure that Africa can feed itself without having to go through hard labor? But how can we employ technology in farming? How can we employ technology in our educational system to make sure that we are resilient, we are rising, and we can compete? So without much ado, I am going to move on. I don't know about you, but as for me, despite the internet connectivity challenges, I am high-spirited. You can see I am full of energy. I am the youngest youth in the room right now because I'm not seeing your comments. I'm not seeing the excitement coming from your end. So I'll just claim that I am the youngest youth. And I am high-spirited right now because with each speaker that is coming to the platform, the bar keeps being raised. Would you agree that? Would you agree that the bar keeps getting raised? So with such high energy, this will be a great time, a great moment to receive a powerful motivation from two young ladies. These two young ladies are mentees of COIF. They are youth mentees. They have a powerful voice, and they have a presentation for us today for Africa Day. Let's get ready to watch these two young ladies share with us their motivation for the Africa Day celebration under the theme Accelerating Development and Diffusion of Emerging Technologies for a Green, Inclusive, and Resilient Africa. This is Coaches of Influence Foundation, a youth and women's organization that is with a vision to raise an army of influencers for intergenerational impact. So you are enjoying the show. If you're enjoying the show, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the part of the world, wherever you are logging in from, we are ready for a powerful motivation from two of our dynamic mentees.
It is said and believed that Africa is the best and the most resourceful continent. Africa is rich, but our people term it less. Africa, one's greatest name. It stands beyond imagination and conclusion.
But the white man sees Africa as people of grief and misery, not knowing that's not our image. See, poverty in Africa has turned things into revolution and destruction. For this is the enormous diversity falling Africa apart.
While this generation is of the conclusion, my mama of this noble country once told me that poverty can only be discriminated when we are able to eradicate into salvation.
If Africans listen to leaders like Nelson Mandela, who once said, and I quote, "Overcoming poverty is not a task of charity but an act of justice." History once said, "Africa is the land of peace, blessed with gold, ivory, and silver." Oh, Africa is now being devastated.
See, Africa cannot develop when the negative concept of poverty is still the backbone of our noble country. Oh, Africa. Oh, Africa. Oh, poverty. Oh, poverty.
Poverty Poverty has turned our aspirations and mentality, the pain and sorrowful life the poor has gone through. The rich neglect the poor because they term as low-class citizens that depends on others for survival.
Oh, great motherland! When shall we wake up from the deep sleep and save our salvations and achievement? That motivation, innovation, and determination can change our population into a better generation.
Yet still, peace and pride are our greatest weapon to fight our crippled regulations of Africa. We will let those know that our bond of humanity is unbreakable and destroyable.
See, poverty has taken many lives and innocent souls because of frustration. You, Mr. Poverty, we know all your weak vices and have developed many devices.
Poverty has influenced us fight each other. What is expected is not happening. Being harsh and injustice to this current generation. Oh, Africa. Oh, Africa. When I sit in my swinging chair, thinking of those days when Africa was a virgin, full with pride and dignity.
But due to the so-called Mr. Poverty, our pride and dignity has faded away. Africa, when shall we unite and have a better future? When shall the suffering end? Our skin color black that identify us as Africans?
Our origin making a better vision of our country. Africa full with confidence, strength, and high personality. See, we need to empower our goals and struggle our problems, for they term us useless, but they don't know a medicine to this sickness.
Oh, Mr. Poverty, we will fight forever till our last breath to vanish you out of our Mama Africa. We will never let you succeed because we know all your plans of destruction, for we have developed many solutions. For poverty in Africa will be destroyed.
Wow, what a remarkable poetry that they've given unto us. These ones are just marvelous. They are too much. In fact, I cannot say much on that poetry because that poetry has given us an insight of what Africa is. Someone says that Africa has already been called a dark continent, and many consider Africa as a poor continent, but Africa is not poor. They say we are poor because of the poverty of our mind. I believe that if our mind is developed and then we have the right people on place, leadership, which is the key, we will be able to move Africa to wherever we want to. And I believe that together we can have a thriving continent. That is what I believe. And I believe you too. I also want to believe that each and everyone will agree with that. Indeed, Africa has not enough resources to take care of its people. But the reason is mismanagement sometimes. And then leadership is key. Nothing changes without leadership. Nothing succeeds without leadership. Nothing advances without leadership. If we're going to move Africa forward, we must work with one mind, with one voice, engage our hearts, enlighten our heads, and empower our hands to make Africa better than we met it. And together, we can have a thriving continent. I'm becoming now a very good poet. Doctor, what do you think? We are getting hype, and then we're moving upward and forward. The thing is getting excited. The dike has been raised, and I believe everyone that is watching out there, just click on to subscribe on our social media platforms to follow what is happening. It's Africa's Day. Don't miss out. Where will you be as a young person if you miss out of such an opportunity like this, where you will hear things that will propel you and prepare you to become a better African child in African continent that believes in Africa, and then we're able to put your energy forward, that we will able to make Africa what we want it to be. Not wasting much of our time. We have another speaker that is coming up who is no other person than Binta Cisse. You may like to know more about who Binta is, and I would like to give you a brief bio about Binta. Binta Cisse is a diversity, equity, and inclusion change maker. Her forte is in communication, media training, community outreach and engagement, social and gender justice advocacy. She has a multifaceted background from radio, TV, marketing, and banking to community outreach in government. She led the Multilateral Affairs Committee of the City of Madison and was one of the 5 peer advisors for 300 employees of the City of Madison. Binta is the founder of Bathing and Beyond, a culturally inspired bathing support and postmortem care program for African immigrants and refugee women and bathing persons in Wisconsin. Let us make welcome Binta Cisse. Binta, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Please let me know if you can hear me. You can? Thank you so much, Samuel. I just want to say before we go on, Happy Africa Day to everybody. I am really, really, really honored and humbled to be here in your presence. And to tell you the truth, I am learning a lot. A lot, a whole lot. I'm taking it all in. I did tell the admin when she sent me the invite that, oh my God, it's 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. for me. Can I join in right before I speak? Like close to my speaking time, which now is 6:52 a.m. And she was like, no, we actually want you there for the whole time. And I'm glad she said that because I am taking in so much information, so much education, and I am really, really, really glad that she told me to come early because I'm taking it all in. Happy Africa Day, everybody. Oh, and by the way, it's postpartum care, that is care for someone who has given birth.
So just going through your bio is very encouraging. And Binta, by the way, is calling in or joining in from Madison, Wisconsin in the USA. She just told you it's very early in the morning. And Binta, I had to join in at 3 a.m. And so I feel your pain, but it is all worth it. It's exciting. We are having a great dialogue over here. As you
Yes.
can see, we
Yeah.
are all learning. So,
Yes.
Binta, I have some questions to go over with you. So to drive the conversation and for you to share your knowledge with us this
Okay.
morning.
Be
So, Binta,
nice.
the first thing that I'm going to ask you is that, going through your bio and going through all the other social media information that you have out there, as a dynamic and committed, as a dynamic leader who is very committed to the protection and empowerment of women and children, how do you integrate the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion in your outreach efforts?
Thank you very much, Dr. Margaret Ellis. Thank you so much. Well, as a public speaker and communication specialist dedicated to the protection and empowerment of women and children, I understand the importance of integrating the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion into my outreach efforts and literally into everything that I do to foster a more resilient and inclusive Africa and the world in general. Firstly, I would like to say that I have not lived on the continent for a few years now, and hence my capacity and capability has some limitations when it comes to direct influence. However, I'm doing what I can with the tools that are available for me. For example, technology to play my part. Like you rightly mentioned, social media and spaces like this. To start off, I would like to say that as an African living in the diaspora, there is an unspoken weight on unofficial ambassadorship that we carry. And that can be both a blessing and or a burden. For some of us, there's always this unspoken feeling that we're representing not just us, but our families, our neighborhoods, our countries, and even the continent out here. So, what we say and do matters, as it can be a manifestation of not just who we are as a person, but where we're from as well. That being said, I recognize that I am privileged to sometimes be in spaces of influence in my community here and also have platforms that can arguably be considered big. From social media, the local radio station where I volunteer, as well as the stakeholders I network with in my work as an entrepreneur and former roles in city government. I make sure that I am always intentionally manifesting some of the following. First, embracing and championing diversity. I recognize and appreciate the diverse cultures, ethnicities, and backgrounds and perspectives that exist within and outside the African continent. That no one way or people is a representation of Africa and its cultures. By acknowledging and celebrating this diversity, I aim to create an inclusive environment that values and respects the uniqueness of every individual. This can be achieved by incorporating diverse voices, music and experiences in my speeches on my platforms while hosting the Pan Africa radio show, which is what I host every other Saturday, highlighting success stories of women and children from various backgrounds and promoting cultural exchange and understanding. Another thing I do is ensuring equity. I strive to promote fairness and equal opportunities for all women and youth that I engage with. And this has been since back when I lived in the Gambia and Ghana, and now in the US. Regardless of their socioeconomic status, their ethnicity, or geographical location, to achieve this, I actively advocate for policies and initiatives that address and eliminate systemic barriers and inequalities in whatever society or community I find myself in. I use my platforms to raise awareness about gender-based violence, education disparities, and economic challenges faced by marginalized communities. And I collaborate with organizations and stakeholders to drive meaningful change. Something else that I try to do is foster inclusion, because inclusion is a crucial aspect of creating a resilient and inclusive Africa. I make it a priority to create spaces where women and children feel empowered to voice their concerns and ideas. And this doesn't have to be in the large, big platforms. This can be as little as me talking to my friend, recommending a book, something interesting that I have learned, like this conversation today, even sharing the link and saying that come here and learn with us. I think all of those. And I try as much as I can to engage with diverse communities, listen to their needs, and collaborate with local organizations to co-create solutions that are tailored to their specific challenges. By amplifying the voices of marginalized groups and involving them in decision-making processes, I aim to foster a sense of belonging and inclusion. Another thing that I am trying to do better is collaborating and networking. I am not so great at networking, even though it seems like I am, but I'm not. But it's very, very important. I understand that addressing complex societal issues requires collective action. Therefore, I actively seek opportunities to collaborate with like-minded individuals, organizations, and communities working towards similar goals. By establishing partnerships, sharing resources, and exchanging knowledge and best practices, I aim to strengthen the impact of my outreach efforts and contribute to a larger movement for change for all of us. Education and empowerment is another very important component. I have always prioritized education and awareness in my work. In the Gambia, I was well known for campaigns that promote gender equality, child rights since I was very little, 9, 10, and the importance of diversity and inclusion through Lend a Hand Society and Voice of the Young. Like I was part of Voice and Lend a Hand since I was like 10 years old. So through workshops, training sessions, and mentorship programs, I equip women and children with the necessary skills and knowledge to overcome challenges, build resilience, and actively participate in shaping their own future. Right now, though, I'm trying to replicate the same through my organization, Birthing and Beyond, which is a culturally inspired birthing support and postpartum care program for African immigrants and refugee women and birthing persons. Our mission is to provide personalized care that empowers women and their families throughout the birthing and perinatal process, period, by offering culturally sensitive support that helps them make informed decisions about their health and well-being. So them telling us what they need instead of us making decisions for them, which happens all the time because people tend not to listen to the person who needs the care, but just assumes this is what they need and I'm going to do that for them. No, that's not respectful. So that's not the way that we go. So by integrating these principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, into my outreach efforts, I strive to create a more resilient and inclusive Africa and a world where every woman and child can thrive and contribute to the betterment of society.
Great. Awesome, Binta. That is a very good response. I'm sure there are some people learning. I hope that the young ladies, are inspired. I hope that all the females that are listening, that are in this conversation right now, are inspired. Here is Binta from the Gambia, from the age of 9. This is the power of vision. This is the power of dreaming. This is the power of setting goals. This is the power of mentorship. We heard Binta say that from the very young age, very early age, I had a vision, I had a dream, I had a passion, and with mentorship, I was able to develop. And here I am, from Gambia to Ghana, from Ghana to the USA, and here I am, a majority in a foreign land. How is that possible? Education. How is that possible? Knowledge. How is that possible? Because somebody sought mentorship, somebody went under somebody's wings to be taught, to be educated, to be empowered. So I hope you are learning. This is all about Africa today, and I'm so excited. So Binta, I have another question for you. So in your role as the social and gender justice advocate, because you've already been very vocal about your position, what specific strategies or initiatives do you employ to foster greater awareness and understanding of the challenges that are faced by women and children in Africa? And how do you envision these efforts to contributing to the overall development of a resilient continent? I know it's a loaded question, but you know what I mean.
Thank you. As a social and gender justice advocate, I employ several strategies and initiatives to foster greater awareness and understanding of the challenges faced by women and children in Africa. And these efforts are all aimed at generating empathy, promoting dialogue, and inspiring action. First, I want to piggyback on what you were saying about mentorship. I feel like the importance of mentorship cannot be overemphasized. It is such a huge, very, very important and impactful tool that I think a lot of us, and I'm speaking for the young people who need mentorship, and the a little bit of older generation or already experienced people who should provide mentorship. I think that link, we used to have a thing in the Gambia called intergenerational dialogue. And I really, really hope that this would be, if it's not, that it should be brought back, because that bridge, that gap between the young and the more experienced should really be bridged. And this is where mentorship comes from. It is very important. It prepares people. Actually, I feel like everybody who is most experienced and already built their career should be more than willing to be mentors to the young people, because these are the people who are going to replace you. You are not going to be there forever. One thing I'm going to commend is the fact that a lot of young people in the Gambia now, from what I see, are very involved in politics, which is very important. It's because every decision that is made at the end of the day by those people in higher offices affects all of us. Whether you voted or not, whether you care or not, manekumasi politics or not, it affects you at the end of the day. So be very intentional and be involved and play your role, because at the end of the day, they will make decisions that impact you or people you care about. So some of the strategies I employ is awareness campaigns, using my platform to shed light and support awareness campaigns on the unique challenges faced by women and children in Africa. These campaigns utilize various media platforms, including social media, traditional media, and public events, to raise awareness and public consciousness and initiate conversations. By sharing stories, statistics, and personal experiences, we all strive to bring attention to issues such as gender-based violence, limited access to education and healthcare, child marriage, and economic disparities. I believe that even though I am not like physically able to be there and organize these campaigns like I used to, the least I can do is share, repost, amplify the voices that are doing the work right now. And I think we can all do that. Another thing is education and training. Education being a powerful tool for transformation. You've already just said, Doctor. I will support the development and implementation of educational programs that focus on gender equality, child rights, and empowerment of women and children wherever and whenever I hear about them. Because these programs can take the form of workshops, seminars, and training sessions targeting diverse audiences, including community leaders, educators, parents, and young people. And by providing knowledge and skills, we aim to empower individuals to take action, challenge harmful norms, and advocate for positive change. So whenever I am aware of an initiative, I support in the best capacity that I can, the best way that I know how. Another thing is engaging men and boys. This is starting from the grassroots. I start with my friends and loved ones, even my father and my husband. It does not always have to be the grand gestures I've already said. Sometimes the things you do one-on-one can be very impactful, but we often overlook that. So I engage my circle of men and boys. I engage them in conversations about gender norms, about their roles and stereotypes, and hold them accountable and have them hold me accountable too. Gender equality is a shared responsibility, and it is important to engage our partners and loved ones. By promoting positive masculinity and engaging male allies, we aim to challenge harmful attitudes and behaviors that perpetuate gender based violence and discrimination. So, engaging men and boys as allies and advocates contributes to creating a more supportive and inclusive environment for women and children. So these are some of the strategies and initiatives that contribute to the overall development and resilience of the continent in several ways. First, social transformation. By fostering greater awareness and understanding of the challenges faced by women and children, we create a platform for dialogue and social transformation. And this can lead to shifts in societal attitudes, norms, and behaviors that promote gender equality and child rights. Empowerment. I cannot overemphasize this. Through education, training, advocacy, we empower women and children to assert their rights, access opportunities, and participate in decision-making processes. Empowered individuals become agents of change and contribute to the overall development of their communities and the continent. Sustainable development. When women and children are empowered and their rights are protected, it positively impacts their access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. This in turn contributes to sustainable development and resilience at the individual, community, and national levels. Breaking the cycle of poverty. Addressing the challenges faced by women and children is crucial for breaking the cycles of poverty and inequality. When women and children are given equal opportunities, they can become drivers of economic growth, social progress, and overall resilience. Overall, by fostering awareness, advocating for policy reforms, empowering individuals, and promoting collaboration, these efforts contribute to a more inclusive, just, and resilient Africa for women and children and everybody.
Great. You know, Binta, I'm sitting up here going, oh my goodness. Are you guys hearing what I'm hearing? Are you here with me? I want to see the thumbs up. I want to see the hearts. I want to see you celebrating Binta from the Gambia to Ghana to USA. And this is what we're listening. Binta, this is very inspiring. And you said that the importance of mentorship, you cannot overemphasize that. And I'm so excited to share, Binta, that Coaches of Influence Foundation is a youth and women's organization. And our vision, our solid vision, is to raise an army of influencers for intergenerational impact. And this army of intergenerational leaders that we are raising them through education. And it is through mentorship, through training, through coaching, and self-discovery. And that self-discovery doesn't come without mentorship. It has to take someone who can see your back to talk to you about what is on your back. And so if you don't have that one, if you're not anybody's protege and you are not under anybody's wings, it will be difficult for you to recognize the areas that need development. It may be difficult for you to self-discover. So that's what COIF is all about. And I also like what you said, that how do you empower others? How do you make sure that you are contributing to building a resilient Africa? Is by using your social media. You share, you repost, and in doing so, you are amplifying the voices of other people and amplifying the advocacy of other people. So young people, if you're listening to me, you are here, you can hear me. COIF youth all over the world, you have the phones in your hand. We don't have to have everyone starting an organization. We don't have to have the duplication of efforts. We don't have to have the reinventing of wheels. Everybody does not have to be a founder of something. Everybody does not need to be a CEO of something. But if there is already a CEO somewhere, there is already a founder, there's already an entrepreneur. All you have to do is to contribute by sharing, reposting, boosting them up, contributing, adding value. And in doing so, you don't have to be the CEO, but you can be just a volunteer. You can be even invisible and adding so much value. So I think in Africa, with these young people, with the young people now, we have to start teaching you that influence is not only being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Many people who are in front of the camera now, Binta and myself right now, speaking to you, we had many years of being behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Before we step in front of the camera.
Still, actually.
So don't disregard being behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You can be so powerful, developing yourself, building a powerful brand. You can be so influential. You can be so supportive. You can add so much value without being in front of the camera. So don't be tempted to always have to turn Facebook Live. Binta is doing all these things, and I've not seen her on Facebook Live.
I don't even know how to do it.
Exactly. She's not doing any Facebook Live. She's not over there. Boasting. She's not over there talking too much. But look at what she's doing in the state of Wisconsin where she lives. Look at the value she's adding. And from Wisconsin, she's touching Africa. She's touching women that she has even never met. So this is the power of technology. That's what we're discussing today. Binta, I'm excited. You can see that I'm very excited. So
I am
Binta,
excited too.
yes, excellent. I have one more question for you, Binta, and that is, what gaps are besides? What gaps besides when it comes to do you face when it comes to building a resilient Africa? And how do you fill these gaps? Because everyone has challenges, especially when you're in advocacy, and especially when you are working on developing people. I'm sure there are some gaps. So how can somebody learn from you today? How do you address those gaps in your work?
First of all, I don't know about learning from me because I am as much the student, the learner here, and just sharing the little that I have, I have been lucky to receive from others. So, yeah, as we learn together, when it comes to building a resilient Africa, there are several gaps that need to be addressed. Some of which have manifested today as we're doing this in very important occasion of celebrating the Africa Day. And these gaps can vary across different sectors and contexts, but here are some of the common areas where attention is needed, along with some potential strategies for filling these gaps. The infrastructure gap. Adequate infrastructure is crucial for resilience in areas such as transportation, every Gambian can relate. Energy, again, should I say them? I'm not going to say their names. Water and sanitation, as well as communication. Many African countries, including ours, face challenges in terms of outdated or insufficient infrastructure. To fill this gap, investment in infrastructural development is essential. And this can be achieved through partnerships with international organizations, private sector involvement, and government initiatives. Emphasis should be placed on sustainable and inclusive infrastructure solutions that consider the needs of all communities. For example, just accessibility, just making sure that the person on the wheelchair or with a crutched is able to access the buildings where they need to come to get some of the documentations that they need, or even to come to a job interview. Just making sure that you don't have a lot of steps, but you have a way that, somebody with a wheelchair can easily wheel themselves into your building. All of those are very important, and they're oversights that we have sometimes. Even having elevators in buildings where there are like multiple floors, making sure that it is accessible and, for that woman with a child or, that pregnant person, so, another thing is the financial gap. I always say that there is no empowerment without financial empowerment. So pay people what they're worth, please. Pay young people what they're worth. I'm speaking for all young people when I say that we are all so very tired of exposure. Expose us while paying us, please. We have been exposed enough. In fact, there's been unlimited exposure with social media. So pay us. So limited financial resources often hinder resilience building efforts. Access to funding and investment is crucial for implementing projects and initiatives aimed at enhancing resilience. To address this gap, innovative financing mechanisms can be explored, such as public-private partnerships, impact investment, and climate finance. Encourage domestic resource mobilization, improving fiscal governance and leveraging international funding sources can also bridge the financial gap. It's true government is voted in to do certain work, but sometimes we as private citizens should take up responsibility to take care of certain things because it is our country. And well, leadership in Africa has always been very shaky, if to say in a very nice way. And so we cannot always just fold our arms and wait for them to do things. We have to take things into our own hands and do what we can. Knowledge and capacity gap. Building resilience requires knowledge, it requires skills and expertise across various sectors. However, there is often a gap in terms of technical expertise and capacity at the local level. To fill this gap, I think investment should be made in education, training, and knowledge sharing programs, like the National Youth Service Scheme. And the National Youth Council could be very involved in things. I'm pretty sure they're doing stuff. Like, I'm not very conversant with their latest projects, but these are opportunities for them. And this could include providing technical training for local communities, government officials, and practitioners. Partnerships with academic institutions, research organizations. There are so many schools in the Gambia, so many tertiary institutions, and having partnerships for internships, sponsorships, even like mentorship programs, placement opportunities, and knowledge networks. These can help facilitate knowledge exchange and capacity building. Another thing is the governance gap. Effective governance is vital for resilience building efforts. However, governance gaps such as weak institutions, corruption, and lack of coordination can hinder progress. And we can see it. Almost every African country knows something about this. So addressing these gaps, being very responsible when voting and not voting based off of someone you know or like, or my neighbor, my uncle, but voting for the right person, the competent person, would help address these gaps because it requires strengthening governance systems, enhancing transparency and accountability, actually, and promoting participatory decision-making process. I've always admired the Gambia for having a national youth parliament. I think that is a very great opportunity for Gambian youth to be involved and be encouraged to do more. This involves also engaging stakeholders at all levels, including the civil society organizations, local communities, and marginalized groups. Strengthening institutional frameworks and promoting good governance practices can help bridge the governance gap. Data gap. Access to accurate and timely data is critical for evidence-based decision-making and resilience planning. I remember there was a time I needed some information because I was doing an assignment for Starfish International, and I had to go all the way to GBERS. GBERS is the Gambia Bureau of Statistics. And I spent weeks going back and forth to that office looking for stuff, and a lot of the information was not even available. And, this is like the place where this is not to say that GBOS is not doing their work. I'm just saying that it's hard to get information in the Gambia when you need it, and that should not be the case. So addressing this gap, there is often a lack of comprehensive and reliable data in many African countries. So this is not a unique situation to us. And we can address this through investments being made in data collection, analysis, and management systems. This includes improving data infrastructure, strengthening national statistical agencies, and promoting data sharing and open data initiatives. Building capacity in data collection and analysis, including the use of emerging technologies such as satellite imagery and remote sensing, can help bridge the data gap. Social inclusion gap. Resilience building efforts should be inclusive and address the needs of the vulnerable and marginalized populations. However, there are often gaps in terms of social inclusion, with certain groups facing disproportionate risk and limited access to resources and opportunities. We can fill this gap by having efforts being made to ensure that resilient strategies and interventions are inclusive and consider the specific needs and priorities of different communities. This involves engaging with marginalized groups, promoting gender equality, I have to say that again, and addressing social inequalities through targeted policies and programs. So, filling all these gaps requires a multifaceted approach involving collaboration among various stakeholders, including governments, civil society organizations, the private sector, and international partners. It is important to prioritize investments, capacity building, and policy reforms that specifically target these gaps. And by addressing these challenges, we can make significant progress in building a more resilient Africa that can effectively withstand and recover from shocks, stresses, and even war.
Great. Thank you so much, Binta. You know, Binta, I just want our participants who are in this conversation with us today, this platform, to know that Africa is being represented today. Starting with our keynote speaker, Professor Lumumba, who is a Kenyan, but also works in Tanzania. So Kenya and Tanzania are represented, and he is a Pan-Africanist. So he represents all African nations. And we had just heard from Dr. Raj. Dr. Raj is from Mauritius originally, and the ECOSOC secretariat where he works, they are located in Zambia. And the ECOSOC secretariat is under the African Union, which is located in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. So Ethiopia, Mauritius, Zambia are all represented. And then we have Aissatou. Aissatou is from the Gambia. Aissatou, as a media personality, she has traveled to many countries in Africa, including one of the countries she listed in her bio is Rwanda. So Gambia is represented, Rwanda is represented. Now we have Binta Sise, and Binta is from the Gambia. He lived in Ghana, and now he's in the USA. So Ghana is represented.
Oh, yes.
And you know, so many of the African countries today are represented in this platform. So we are talking about Africa. So when Binta gives an example of what is happening in the Gambia, which is her native country, it is also something like that may be happening in Sierra Leone or Liberia or Congo or Togo or Burkina Faso or Senegal, because Africa is Africa, and our challenges are similar, our successes are very similar, because we come from the same mama. So if Africa must be fixed, it must be fixed from the womb of Mama Africa. And when it is fixed from the womb, then Africa will be corrected, because we come from the same, they carry the same DNA. So it doesn't matter whether you are in East Africa, West Africa, North Africa, South Africa, wherever you are in Africa, you feel that you are in your own country, because we come from the same mama.
That is true.
So this conversation is about Africa. And whatever we are sharing here, whatever happens in one country, another country can relate. So thank you so much, Binta. This has been a very fruitful conversation. And again, if you're here viewing, just like Binta, I want to remind you that today is a very important day, because we are celebrating Africa Day. Binta, by the way, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
And I forgot to tell Aissatou Keta that she was looking beautiful. And Ewa, even though we could not hear her entire presentation, Ewa, you were looking fantabulous. And the good news is that right now we are going to go into questions and answers. So we will bring the speakers up, and we will get the different questions from the viewers, and those questions will be posed, and the different speakers will get to respond to that. But if you are here, you will agree with me that this is time well spent. So if you agree, I want to see a thumbs up. I want to see a high five. I want to see hearts going. This is time well spent. And at this point, we are going to thank you, Binta. At this point, we're going to go into the questions. And even though we do not hear much from Ewa, but we do have questions that we can pose to Ewa from the audience, and we do also have questions as moderators that we can pose to Ewa. So Ewa, get ready, and Binta, stay tuned, stick around. And and I hope that Aissatou is around. Dr. Raj dropped, but if you have any questions for Dr. Raj, just send it my way, send it our way in the chat. We will make sure that we get it to him and get the response back to you. And if you have any questions for for Professor Lumumba, you can send those also, and we can get them to him for a response. So at this point, we are ready for our questions and answers. Honorable Samuel, are you in the house? Binta, thank you so much, and stick around. Honorable Samuel, are you here? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because we have some questions.
Dr. Binta has dissolved a lot of many doubts, I believe, out there. Everyone that is must have been listening to some of the things that she is saying. Indeed, she has answered questions and then explained hard sentence. It was just amazing. Binta, thank you so much. We so much love what you are doing. I would have loved to throw more questions onto you, but I believe that Doctor has handled a lot of questions that I wanted to ask you about. I think now, without wasting much of our time, we still have some moderators. I believe that will be able to, not only moderators rather, but I believe that we have some other speakers still waiting to come online. That is George Mara, if I want to believe. And
yes, we'll hear from George at the very end. So for
okay.
now, we are bringing Ewa, because Ewa is representing Ecowas, and Ecowas is a very solid body for the West Africa member states. So Ewa, we want to pose some questions to you, and Samuel, you take it away. So whilst you're putting your thoughts together, if Ewa is available, I want to throw the first question.
Please do.
So Ewa, I want to ask you, how does ECOWAS prioritize the acceleration of sustainable development through the adoption and utilization of the emerging technologies within the region? We all know that ECOWAS is a very significant body in West Africa. Is Ewa here? I hope her internet is complying.
I really hope so, madam. I'm here.
Yes. So Ewa is coming to us from Nigeria. And I forgot to mention that Ewa is also from Nigeria, and she's also working in the ECOWAS Commission in Abuja. So Nigeria is also represented. So Ewa is from the Economic Community of West Africa States, which is the ECOWAS. So Ewa, you are representing a large body, many states, 15 member states this morning. So go ahead, Ewa, and let me know if that question is good, or do you want me to pose another question, because I have many. All right, it appears that Ewa is having some
network problem.
There we go. There we go. There's Ewa. Ewa, did you hear the question?
Sorry, can you come again?
Okay. So the question was, how does ECOWAS prioritize the acceleration of sustainable development through the adoption and utilization of emerging technologies within the region? And if that question is not a good one right now, I have more.
Sorry, I really do not know. This is such a bad day for the internet to misbehave. Apologies for the glitch error there. So if I got you right, you asked me how ECOWAS is prioritizing the acceleration of development and
sustainable
diffusion of emerging technologies.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So so for the ECOWAS Commission, just that's why I was very, very happy when Dr. Ray mentioned the Vision 2063 of the African Union. It's the same with ECOWAS here. ECOWAS has a Vision 2050, and at the center of it is to ensure that the ECOWAS actually becomes the ECOWAS of peoples, much more than just ECOWAS of states, where people and young people are able to pursue their dreams. And at the center of that, a major objective of it is to is to accelerate transformation, and emerging technologies in order to be a
All right, our system is freezing again. So we will move on, and Samuel will move on and take questions from the participants. Questions for Binta or for Abdul Karim, who is here, Honorable Abdul Karim. Do we have any questions for Binta or Abdul Karim? Ewa, are you back?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. You froze
Yes,
earlier.
so I was saying that the ECOWAS actually has a lot of initiatives that actually, that evidences to their prioritizing of, technology and development. For ECOWAS has an ICT initiative whereby it prioritizes, creating ICT centers.
So Ewa is freezing. So we will just remove Ewa and go with a question from the participants for our speakers. Do we have any questions for Abdul Karim or for Binta before we go on to our closing remarks?
Yeah, well, I think I would like to ask Binta a question. Binta, can you hear me? Are you there? Binta, idea, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, normally sometimes what you are doing is very unique, and from our context in Africa here, sometimes I want to look at the perspective that what motivated you to come up with such a brilliant initiative like this, looking at where we're coming from in Africa and then some of the difficulties that we face, especially in the diaspora. What must have motivated you? Because sometimes people drive or come up with an initiative as a result of the pain that they go through or some of the need that they see around them, or either they become victims of circumstances. What must have motivated you to come up with this initiative? I would like to know. And maybe the audience will
I'm
like to know.
assuming you're talking about my organization, Birthing and Beyond.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so to be honest with you, it's a collective of reasons. First, there is my own experience, and then there's experience of other people around me, and conversations that I've had with people that I know in the community. So we have a big, kind of a big African community here, but a big Gambian community, if I can say that. So I try to be as involved as my time allows me. We organize International Women's Day celebrations by the Senegambia Women's Association that I have been a part of for the past 3 or 4 years now. And I'm very proud of the work that they do. I'm not part of the executive because I also know my limit, but I show up whenever and then support and, be a part of, whatever work that they're doing. And so out of conversations and just being involved in my community, just knowing that talking to people and realizing. So I just had a baby who is over a year old now. And so that process from being pregnant to going into labor and all the questions that I had going into labor, I had a lot of fears. We talk about maternal mortality in the Gambia a lot because one of my relatives is the founder of Gambia Women's Lives Matter, and which is doing a really huge campaign back there. But here, it's funny, but this is America. Wisconsin in America is number one, the worst state for Black women to give birth. Maternal mortality rate in Wisconsin is very high for Black women. So knowing that, being a Black woman and recognizing that need, and obviously being scared for myself and the people that I love and care about in this community, I felt the need to do something, which is what I was raised with. Like I said earlier, I'm a member of Lend a Hand Society. I used to be a member of Voice of the Young. We were raised that whenever we see an issue, we do something about it. We don't just talk about it, we do something. And so because of that, knowing the data and the statistics out there, and then knowing what's going on in my community, because I talk to people, I have friends and I talk to them, and recognizing that need, I asked what I can do. And recognizing that the other problem is that when you go to the hospitals and you're Black, a lot of times they fail to recognize that our experiences are different, our cultures are different, our ways of lives are different. I remember I saw a host of midwives. My system is very confusing. I did not have a specific midwife to myself. I had a bunch of midwives, a team of 10 or 12. And every visit I saw one. I did not like that. But at that point, I could not ask for a change because that's what my insurance provided. One of the midwives considered me high risk because I was a Black woman, period. I was not high risk. I may be a Black woman, but my story and history and experiences and lifestyle is different from other Black women in America who are African American. As an African woman in America, my lifestyle is different. We eat different. We still eat rice. I cook rice. I cook churagerte for dinner almost every night. I cook mono for dinner almost every night. I swap between those. You come to my house, you eat mburo nyebe for breakfast a lot of times. And mburo nyebe is bread and beans for people who are not Gambians. So I live a very Gambian lifestyle here in America. Like I cannot leave. Every time people are like, you can take the girl from the village, but you cannot take the village out of the girl. So you cannot take Gambia out of me. I try to showcase my Gambianness in any way that I can. Even my little daughter, who's brand new, wears Africans every Friday. And it's just this is just me making sure I'm maintaining my culture and being very intentional about it. So even though somebody did say I'm high risk, another midwife saw me and was like, no, you're not high risk. She said that because she boxed you into the box of all African American women, and that is not true. And a lot of times they don't listen to us, they don't ask us, they don't want to know what we're going through, what our experiences are. They just box you into a big box with everyone else and decide your fate. So knowing that this job that I'm doing, it has a single word name that's called a doula. A lot, it's mostly about advocating and empowering women and birthing persons when they are in most need to do that. That's at the office visits with the doctors, during labor and delivery, when a woman is in labor and she's going through pain and stress and anxiety, she has to have someone to advocate for her. And that is my role. I make sure that I am there, and that is what I'm willing to do, is be there and advocate for you and make sure that you are seen as a human being, a person, not as a number or just another patient on the board. You are a whole human being with feelings and experiences and a lifestyle, and you have to be heard and seen as such. So that is why I'm doing that. That's what inspired me to do this. I know I took a long-winded way to answer because I am a talkative.
I know. Wow. One more question before we will go to other speakers out there. In African context, we realize that when it comes to the issue of gender-based violence, as an activist on the issue of gender, this 50-50 of a thing, which is men and women to share some equal rights and then also equal opportunities, which is very, very difficult to convince our mamas and papas here at home. How do you think, not only mamas and papas, but both religious wise, do you realize that it has some challenges there? From the religious perspective, they will tell you that it cannot be possible because man has to be in charge and then the woman have to be at the back. And then we have seen that it has affected or impacted Africa in such a way that many women are relegated to the background or to the back seats. How do you think you will able to penetrate with your initiative, or let's say together, we will able to, as an activist, that you will able to amplify your voice in African settings to break that barrier? Because that has been a challenge, and I think that it will always be a challenge. If you go to some of our communities down there in Basse, sorry to mention some words, but like some names, but like in the Sarahule community setting, they will not allow you to kill both men and women in the same queue. So how do you think we will able to deal with such a mindset? And do you think that we will able to eradicate that?
So this is the thing. So I'm going to answer in two ways. First, I'm going to address the gender-based violence that you have mentioned. So intimate partner violence is real. It's real across the world. It's not an African issue. It is everywhere. And even where I live right now, the African community is infested with intimate partner violence. And this is actually not just us. The white people are struggling with it. Everybody is struggling with it. And to be honest with you, it's also one of the reasons why I created Birthing and Beyond. And that's the beyond part of the birthing, because I realized, so my friend and I were trying to, we set up a different organization. And that organization was supposed to, part of what we were going to do, part of, is to support women who are going through intimate partner violence and provide resources to them to help them empower them and be their advocates. But that was hard for us because of security reasons. So I know that for a fact, a lot of times you go to the hospital as a woman, you are sick or you're in labor, and the doctors or the nurses are asking you in front of your partner who is abusive if you are safe at home. In that case, what do I say? I want to be safe. I want to, I would not tell you yes in front of him, so like there should be more training to say that don't ask this in front of them. Make an excuse, say I'm taking them to the lab or something, and have this conversation in private where the partner is not around, and to make sure that they are safe. So we also, what we were trying to do was called talk therapy, and we were trying to have provide a space where we can be able to, as Africans, African diasporans, come up and be able to share our experiences, and also talk about the things that we're going through and the resources that we need. And then we would connect them to the resources in the community and help them out. So that's but we weren't able to do this safely because when I come to your house and you're going through intimate partner violence, and I am trying to make these, oh, you have this resource available. There's an organization called Days that protects women from violence and whatever. He hears me and he's like, this woman is coming for touch my kirby. Next minute, he sends me out of his home, and then you're in more trouble. So I am like, another way that I can have access to this woman is when I'm helping them doing this, because a lot of time they don't want to be involved in anything that has to do with birthing and pregnancy. So now I have access to them, just me and them. And then I know the problems that they're facing, and then I find out how I can help them. There are African men in this community who prohibit their women from having bank accounts. Credit cards, you cannot survive in America without a credit card because you need credit score for everything, even school. So they prohibit them from things that are going to make them advanced and independent because they want to be controlling. They want to make sure they are holding on and controlling you. So these are all things that we pay attention to, and we try to do something about. But the other part of your question, which is the gender equality part, the gender roles, the 50-50. Now, this is my opinion. Every household knows what works for you. The 50-50 is very critical because people interpret it however. In Islam, the understanding, because I'm a Muslim, I can only speak for Islam, is that your husband is responsible for you to feed you, clothe you, house you. Maybe there's more things. This is the basic things that I'm interested in, so I know that. But how I see it is we have capacity in different ways. If you are the one who knows, you are skilled in cooking, you are that's how I see 50-50. If you earn more money, and then you, as the man, and you earn more money and you can take up more bills, because in America, we all go to work. We all come home, and then, we all have to eat. And so let's say we all close at 5 o'clock. We all come in, we have to eat. If I'm in the kitchen cooking and you're watching sports, and you want to keep watching sports while I cook, after I'm done cooking and cleaning, doing the dishes, you want to watch sports while I'm cleaning, I'm taking care of the baby and everything. Bro, that's not fair, So what we're saying is, you know that you have skill sets, you have capacity and capability here where you are. So use that. Bring your skill set, your capacity, and where you are powerful, where you are able. Let me bring where I am able. If I love cooking, and there are women who don't love cooking, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The way I see it, we all eat, we all love food. We should all learn how to eat, how to cook, because you leave home sometimes, you don't know where you're going to find yourself. Kids go to college, and then you have to buy food every day, try it. You would be broke. So I'm just saying, so everybody try, do what you can. If you are able to cook, like my husband and I both cook, but I'm the better cook. I don't like cooking, but I'm the better cook. I keep saying I cook because we have to eat. So I make sure that, the food part I am taken care of. And a lot of times he would come right after I'm done cooking, bal dishes it, has, and he washes the dishes. I think that's just how it's supposed to be. There are days where I have an early morning meeting. He's taking care of our daughter and taking her to daycare. He bats her, clothes her. And this is like, these things should not be like, yo, definitely. It should be natural to us. This is our household. We own this house. It's our home. So this is our family. The kids are our kids. I don't think there should be like this person should do this. I don't really believe in gender roles. I just believe in capacity. What you can do, do it. What I can do, I do it. Where you can help, help. Where I can help, I help. Because it is our home. It is our family. So let's both do what we can to make it a successful, peaceful, and happy place. That's what I believe.
Thank you very much, Binta, for giving us an insight with regard to that. That therefore means that 50-50 has to do with different ways of interpretation in your own way, and then that's how you understand it. And I believe that that is how someone also understands it from his or her own perspective. Back to you, Doctor. Maybe you have some other questions too.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, it is almost the top of the hour. We have just less than 15 minutes to wrap up this conversation. We have about 12 minutes to go. So this conversation is getting exciting and very interesting. I will just give Ewa a few minutes to say something because she's back and her internet is good right now. So Ewa, say something before we introduce our next speaker to give us the closing remarks.
Okay. Again, apologies for the break in transmission. It's been a whole day, but I want to say thank you to the Coaches of Influence Foundation. Thank you for causing us to have conversations like this. This is what we need. Africa needs to progress. Thank you, Madam Binta, for bringing your experience and everything to the table. So, just still on the topic on accelerating development for an inclusive, resilient, and green Africa. These are all our needs. Africa has to be resilient. Africa has to be green. Africa has to be inclusive. That's why I'm very happy that she brought the whole gender perspective for inclusion. Inclusion is very, very important, and technology even helps us to do that. We know women, a lot of women, they are domesticated, they are often involved in commerce, but with technology, we can even make it better for them. With e-commerce, there are a lot of firms out there that are, disbursing all these forms of technologies, and I believe they can be better because it's a large problem and it requires large-scale solutions. So by investment in research and development and giving grants, I think we can also do better and actually tap into these technologies more on a larger scale, which is why I appreciate what Ecowas is doing. Ecowas has a policy for ICT, and they have ICT centers across countries. Just last week, a scholarship fund was just, approved for all member states for postgraduates, and they can go on to further in renewable energy. Those are opportunities like that could be tapped into. And it shouldn't just stop at the regional level. Also, when we are domesticating them, there is importance and need for us to actually consider the people and understand that this is for the greater good. And renewable energy, it is very, very important for us for green energy to bear the brunt of climate change more than the other regions of the world. And there is a form of climate injustice, which is why we must prioritize greening our economies, tap into natural sources of energy from solar to thermal, hydro, think about anything. And that way it helps in electrification of rural communities, and in ways that actually, increases the welfare of people. And it also helps us to be energy independent. If we have, if we generate energy ourselves, the volatility of the energy market across the world, it doesn't affect us that much. And when we tap into it, we create more job opportunities, we create more skills for people, and that's empowerment on its own. So these solutions, they are not just in silos, they are interconnected, they affect everything. So when we have a greener economy, when we have, inclusive economy, it generates to the, it culminates to the overall development of our regions, of our sub-regions, and our continents in general. So this topic is very, very important. And so there is also need for us as young people. We have to seek knowledge. We have to seek knowledge more than ever. Knowledge is now at our fingertips. All it takes is, and this is not to even disregard the fact that some people do not even have, internet and all of that. I have internet, but see the connection. But wherever we are able to, let's seek knowledge. It is important. There is a lot of potential in us. So there are e-learning platforms. There are digital skills for Africa. That's a website you can tap into. There is Coursera, edX, and everywhere around the world. There are the likes of, Utiva, even homegrown solutions, homegrown e-learning platforms. So I think it's important for us as well. It will take collective effort for us to actually see the Africa of our dreams happen. As individuals, we have to play our part. A sub-regional organization as Ecowas is pulling its part, but then it can't do it without us. African Union is doing its part as well. So we have to work together hand in hand and, in a paid forward system so that everyone gets to be a part of it. And Africa is actually better in our time, that we get to experience the prosperity. There are a lot of opportunities here in Africa that we are not even utilizing as much. But with these emerging technologies, we can tap into them, use them to their fullest potential, and actually see the African.
That is great. Thank you, Ewa. We were able to get much of Ewa right now. That is very exciting. This is all she had. She had a lot more to share, but her internet wasn't complying. I'm so glad that Ewa, you were able to come forward and share your views because they are very relevant. Thank you, Binta. Thank you, Ewa. Thank you to Abdul Karim and thank you to Aisatu. Thank you to Dr. Raj. We are wrapping up now. But before we go, we need to hear from our vice president, the vice president of Coaches of Influence Foundation, who is no other than George Mara. Let me introduce him briefly. George Mara is a teacher by profession, and he is the current vice president and alumni member of Coaches of Influence Foundation. George has several accomplishments, but the most recent was his promotion as head of Department of Humanities in Mansakuli Bojang Upper and Senior Secondary School, where he has been teaching for over 3 years now. So please help me welcome Mr. George Mara to share his closing remarks.
Thank you, Doctor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining today. I am George Sayumara, the Vice President of Coaches of Influence Foundation. Today, after hearing from all our amazing speakers, I'm filled with an overwhelming sense of pride and optimism. We are here to commemorate the anniversary of the Organization of African Unity and to reflect on the remarkable progress we have made as a continent. The theme for this year's celebration, accelerating development and diffusion of emerging technologies of a green, inclusive, resilient Africa, perfectly encapsulates our shared vision for a brighter future. Throughout history, Africa has been a cradle of civilization, a source of immense cultural diversity, and abundantly rich in resources, both natural and human resources. Today, we stand together as a united and determined continent, ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities of the modern world. Africa's potential is vast, and we are committed to unlocking it through science, technology, and innovation. The path to sustainable development lies in harnessing the power of what? Emerging technologies, from renewable energy to artificial intelligence, from biotechnology to blockchain. These innovations have the potential to transform our economies, empower our people, and address pressing challenges such as climate change, poverty, and inequality. By embracing these technologies, we can build a green, inclusive, and resilient Africa that leaves no one behind. But the journey towards a technologically advanced Africa is not one that can be undertaken in isolation. Collaboration and partnership are essential to accelerate progress. As we celebrate Africa Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to regional integration and cooperation. By working together, we can share knowledge, pool resources, and create paths that will propel us towards a collective goal. Coaches of Influence Foundation strongly believes that in our pursuit of sustainable development, we must prioritize inclusivity.
All right, we may not be able to get the message, the finishing part of the message from the vice president. We got a lot of what he had to say. Thank you so much, George. We understand that the internet in Africa is a challenge, hence the motivation for our topic today. This is a project for everyone listening, everyone viewing, and even those that will view this video after the program. Please take it up as a challenge. We want this frustration. You want me to channel your frustration in the form of advocacy, in the form of policies, in the form of programs, in the form of organizations, whatever we can do to contribute so we can fix this situation. This internet situation is a cancer in Africa, and it must be fixed because in the 21st century, we need the internet. So I hope you understand why we have this topic today. And I believe that from all the challenges that we've experienced from the different speakers, it is a testament that this topic is highly relevant. Well, viewers, speakers, performers, and everyone, thank you so much for adding your voices and your contributions to the Africa Day Dialogue today. Please keep in mind that the Influence Africa Youth Forum that we are launching today will come your way every quarter or in between the quarter. And the forum is intended to bring key players, other speakers like the ones we had today, like the Bintas, like the Aisatus, like the Dr. Raj, like the Abdul Karims, like the Ewas, like the George Maras. They will be coming back, like the Professor Lumumba. They will all be coming back. The forum is intended to bring key players in youth development from different continents and countries to perform, to impart to knowledge in the youth, and to provide you with direction and equip you to build a sustainable world, a sustainable Africa. So if you're not connected with us, please do so today by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and also follow us on our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Samuel, I would like for you to go ahead and share your closing remarks as we wrap up this conversation.
Thank you very much, Doctor. On behalf of Coaches of Influence Foundation and the flagship of Coaches United Nations Simulation, we want to say a very big thank you to each and everyone that participated in the program today. Indeed, what you appreciate, you attract. We want to appreciate all our speakers that are here with us today, starting from the Professor Lumumba, you have Dr. Raj, you have Aisatu, you have Binta, you have Honorable Abdul Karim, all of you that have participated in the program, and our viewers out there. We want to say a very big thank you for participating in the program like this today. It was indeed a great journey. We have come thus far, and then every good thing must come to an end. Indeed, we also want to appreciate our background, people that are on the background there who are doing a lot of work, not forgetting Dr. Stano out there who is doing a lot of work, Brian Jacob, and the rest of the team that are there, and my co-moderator, Dr. Margaret Ellis, who is actually the one that is always pushing us, inspiring us, motivating us, encouraging us, and giving us an inspired push to bring out the best in us as young people that will represent Africa anywhere we go, as Coaches of Influence Foundation members. Indeed, we have come to a point whereby the challenge has come upon us as young people to settle for the change that we all embrace. And by that change, we must be willing to change our perception, our belief system, what we believe and our conviction about Africa and where we want to see Africa to be. They have spoken, we have heard them, and it is about we to implement what we have heard from all the speakers and bring out the best that Africa deserves, because Africa has enough resources to take care of its people. And if we are willing to put all our resources together, we will be able to set Africa and all the world be looking at us, because we are the beacon of hope that the world needs. We are the one that is called at such a time like this to salvage the situation in the world crisis that we face. And if that must happen, I challenge therefore all the viewers out there, young people out there, all hands on deck, to see to it that we bring this to a reality. I believe that we can do it, and together we can have a thriving Africa. Thank you all of you for participating in Africa Day, and looking forward to see you another time. From me, Samuel Mendy, I want to say bye-bye. Thank you to you all. Bye.
Thank you, Honorable Samuel. That was so powerful. Africa has enough resources to take care of Africa. That is so powerful, and that is a takeaway. I hope that all of you walk away from this dialogue today, from this platform, with that in mind. Africa has enough resources. You are a resource for Africa, because your skills, your gifts, your talents, your abilities, your influence are all resources that Africa needs. Africa has the resources that are needed to build Africa, and you are one of those resources. Well, if you, I believe that you'll agree with me that this was time well spent, and we have the viewers from different continents, from different countries, and from the continent of Africa who were with us and watching right now. So thank you so much for your commitment to join us on the journey of sustainable impact. And Coaches of Influence Foundation is focused on delivering programs that are focused on shifting the thinking patterns of young people and shaping your character. So I hope that you will connect with us on our social media pages. I hope you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I hope you continue walking this journey with us. We want you to join us in the next dialogue on Influence Africa Youth Forum, coming your way very soon. Until I come your way again, thank you for being here, and be the influence that Africa needs. Thank you.